Digimon.
Hello and welcome to Cels episode 43. I am your host Alex Schmitz, and with me here today is Andrew Gleason.
Hey there.
Peter Frank.
Hello.
And a new member to the podcast, special guest Dan Isler.
Hello.
Hey there. So yes, in case you couldn't tell by that cool little opening, we're going to be talking about Digimon today, specifically the Digimon The Movie, which is from 2000. We're going to be talking about that and the 9th episode of The Legend of Korra. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about some news that's happened recently, as well as the animation we've watched since last time. Did you guys see Peter and Andrew, did you guys see the first 3 minutes of the Madoka movie?
No.
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
He hasn't even watched Madoka.
Well, I guess I shouldn't be asking Peter.
I saw it on Facebook, but it was really late at night, and it was like, I'm not conscious enough to read and listen to watch Pretty Colors in Japanese, so I was going to watch it probably tonight.
Okay,
And then be excited.
It's pretty cool. Like, it's very different from what you'd expect. I'll just leave it at that without going to spoiler territory.
What do you mean?
Well,
I
you'll
don't
see.
know what to expect anymore.
With that show, you never know what to expect. Something kind of cool. Apparently, in January, around the same time that Space Dandy is going to be going on Toonami, they are going to be putting on Naruto Shippuden on the Toonami block. So they're going to have the uncut first season of Naruto as well as Shippuden, I guess, on different time
I
blocks.
can't believe it.
Thanks for that one, Peter.
I felt like someone had to. Kenny's not here.
That's
Tony
true.
is not here.
In his absence, we must do it. So I don't know. I'm not that big of a. I mean, I like the Naruto manga. I've never been that huge a fan of the anime, but Shippuden as a whole is better than the first season, I would say. So it's good that they're getting to that sort of stuff, I guess. And there was also a new a 3-minute trailer for the Princess Kaguya movie that's coming out later this year, the Studio Ghibli one, with that really pencil-y art style.
Looking forward to that one.
Really? You like that look?
I just love Ghibli films.
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I'm not excited for it. Like, I'm much more excited for The Wind Rises, Miyazaki's movie. But this one, it'll be fun to watch at the very least for this unique animation. We'll see what type of story it is, because since it's Ghibli, I'm sure it's going to be heartwarming and beautiful, like all their movies are. Mm-hmm. So we got that. And then what about the animation we've watched since last time? Peter, what have you been watching?
I watched the Pokemon Origins recently, and it was just the best around. It was just the best.
Gotcha. So, yeah, because most of us had seen it a few weeks ago. Like, we watched it when it first came out, and so you were catching up with us, huh?
I was. I nearly cried when this Charmander thing happened in the first episode because it was terrible.
That was what got me to watch it, because Jeremy just showed that clip to me, and I was like, oh, God. What have they done to my Pokemon?
See, I'm waiting on the dub, so... Because it's like next week.
Well, now I get to
Oh,
watch it
really?
twice.
Is the dub out next week?
I heard the 15th.
Okay. I'll have to watch that then, because that'll be cool. What about you, Andrew? What have you been watching?
You should... Well, let's see here. You're keeping up with Korra. You showed us Beyond the Boundaries.
Yes, the first 2 episodes of Beyond the Boundary.
And then... And this is kind of counts. It's worth noting, because we've watched it so much, is the new episode of Hellsing Ultimate Abridged came out, and we've just been watching that on a loop for a while. And because it's just so funny, and LOL, I'm so random.
Yeah, no, I love those. The Hellsing Ultimate ones. Like, I sent a Facebook message to 2 of my friends from back home. Like, new Hellsing Ultimate is out, because they love them just as much as I do. So it's
so funny.
It's always
Only
fun.
once a year, but it's always worth it.
It's
Yes.
true. As for myself, I've actually fallen behind a little bit on some of the shows I've been keeping up with, like Nagi no Asakura. I'm probably going to catch up on those either later tonight or tomorrow, because of the fact that I kind of got addicted to 2 shows that I had started in the past, but I was like, okay, I want to finish these, and I plowed through them. So first off was Eden of the East. Have any of you guys heard of that? It's I think it's Madhouse. Don't quote me on that. I think it's a Madhouse show from 2009 or so. And it's sort of like a mystery thriller sort of thing, and with a kind of Japanesey, way of doing it. And it was a pretty good, the ending of the TV show left me with a little bit to be desired, but thankfully there are 2 movies that give more closure to it, So I watched all that, not anything I would rank, near my top 20, but it was enjoyable for what it was worth. So I liked that. And then more importantly, I've watched all of Clannad and Clannad After Story. If Clara was here, she's the one who's been talking about Clannad for like the past 43 episodes. Well, not 43 because she hasn't been on them all, but you get the point. She's been talking about it forever. It's like her favorite anime, and she'd been telling me to watch it. I watched like the first 3 episodes or so, and I really wasn't liking it because it starts off really slow and they like introduce you to way too many characters at once, and it was feeling like too visual novel-y. But I gave it more of a chance, and as it went on, it became better. The first season, that's just Clannad. It has its ups and downs. Like there's some arcs that I think are really good, and then other arcs that I think kind of get way too sappy and too romancy. Falling into the rom-com tropes and cliches, that you want to avoid. So, Clannad season 1 is good, not great. But After Story, which is the second season, which basically shows these 2 kids fall in love in high school. What happens after that, and it really gets in like the real world things like after graduating and getting married. And has a reputation as being one of the saddest anime of all time alongside things like, Anohana and Angel Beats. And having seen both those shows, I have to say Clannad After Story is even sadder than those. Like it's made me tear up. Yeah. What?
That's too sad.
Well, you've seen Angel Beats. Did you see Anohana as well?
I watched most of Anohana. I never on the to-do list.
Well, how can you watch most of Anohana but not the ending? Because the ending is the single best moment.
Well, it's like you. It's like I was on it. I was on that and Psychopath at the same time, and then you made me watch something. I don't remember what else we watched after that. And I was on that for a while, and I just didn't come back. And then Attack on Titan came out, and
well, you had all of summer to watch Anohana.
Forgot. Now I couldn't remember what it was called.
Monster.
I remember what the show was. I just couldn't remember what it was called.
All right. Well, now you have been assigned finish Anohana because the ending is beautiful.
Should just restart it.
Maybe that's what you got to do. I don't. Mark also started Anohana but didn't finish it, so I should get on him on that too. But
me and him can talk about it.
Nag.
But anyways, I highly I was thinking about it. I actually ranked Clannad After Story in my top 10. It's number 8 or 9, I think.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, no, it got to me pretty good, and I've been listening to some of the music, and there's certain tracks, that play at the really sad moments that just get you teary-eyed just listen to it. So, it lived up to its reputation for me. It sort of has an odd ending, but when I thought about the series as a whole and read up on it a little bit, it actually made a lot more sense, and it really is like a beautiful little ending to the show, I think. So overall, really like that. Anyways, I've gone on forever. Dan, what have you been watching recently?
I have not that, or I've been trying to get anime again, but I'll watch a pile of one show and then just fall out of it. I've been trying to get through Cowboy Bebop recently, and all the way through. Probably get done with that first and probably find something new.
Okay, yeah. Well, if you ever want to, I own the DVDs to Cowboy Bebop, so if you want to borrow them, I'll loan them to you. Because that's one you got to see all the way through. Because just wondering, do you know how it ends?
I do not.
Okay, don't spoil yourself on that, because that is one of the most best endings in any anime. So be prepared for that.
I don't know anything about the plot of Cowboy Bebop. So.
I assume that it involves a cowboy.
And there's
there is a cowboy in an episode, and it's one of the best episodes of the show, actually.
There's only an episode?
Well,
lied to.
Technically, they refer to them as cowboys, but they're bounty hunters more than anything.
So it's Boba Fett. Got it.
Yeah, sort of.
Does Boba Fett have an afro?
There are some characters in the show that have an afro, but not any of the main characters.
Darn.
What are you thinking about?
I don't know. I just remember something with an afro.
Samurai Afro?
That might have been.
Or Afro Samurai.
That's what it is.
Afro Samurai.
Samurai Afro.
I get Afro Samurai and Afro Ninja, the YouTube meme, mixed up pretty often.
Is that a YouTube meme? I don't even know about
it's
that.
a really old one where the guy with an afro is playing with his nunchucks and then he tries to do a backflip and then just lands on his face.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
After this, I'll look it up, and then I'll be up on my, classic internet memes that I'm missing out on.
I like they're classics now.
They are. I mean, Numa, man.
Oh, yeah.
That defined in
Leroy Jenkins,
Yes, Leroy Jenkins, they defined a generation.
It's kind of sad to hear that, isn't it?
Generation is sad.
All right.
Make fun of me.
So getting into the main plot for the show today, as we mentioned earlier, it's going to be talking about Digimon the Movie and Korra Episode 9. We're going to focus on Digimon first. And for those who don't know, this Digimon movie is actually a combination of 3 shorter movies that were released, separately in Japan. And they, for the American release, they pushed them all together into like an 85-minute movie, that sort of combines the 3 stories together.
So weird.
It is weird. Apparently, because this was I read that it was after the success of the Pokemon movies, Fox wanted to have a Digimon movie, but Japan didn't have a feature-length film. They had 3 films, respectively, one 20 minutes long, one 40 minutes long, one 60 minutes long. And the first one being Digimon Adventure, the second one, Our War Game, and the third is called Digimon Hurricane Touchdown / Supreme Evolution, the Golden Digimentals. So that's technically the actual titles of these 3 shorts that they combined into this thing. And I was reading up on it. Apparently, there's a total of about 40 minutes, compared to the actual 3 films, scrunched together. They cut about 40 minutes off of that to make it fit into the runtime for this movie.
Did that make them better?
Well, I can't imagine the third one got any worse. So
I don't know.
The third one, it actually has a completely different plot, and they kind of cut it out completely just so it fits with the other 2. It just doesn't make
you need
sense.
to watch that.
Yeah,
We should.
It says here they were heavily cut because Saban Entertainment lacked funding to produce a full 2-hour movie. And apparently the writer on this particular movie, Jeff Nimoy, noted that the first cut of the movie consisted of just the first 2 films and had plans to release the third film separately as a television movie or direct-to-video, but the idea was overruled. And so in order to connect the movies
in order
to connect the movies together, they forced the screenwriter to make it connect, the first 2 movies connect with the third one, which was never intended to be that way. Because apparently, I was reading up on it, there's apparently a whole thing where the villain in the third movie went around and turned the older Digidestined into kids, and that was a plot point, and he did something to Kari and TK, and that's why they were out of the movie for so long. What does it say here? Hoping to find Willis, the Wendigomon, I guess that's his name.
Wendigo?
Wendigomon begins to kidnap the other Digidestined and de-age them. During this time, TK and Kari investigate Willis's whereabouts shortly after Mimi's disappearance and enlist the help of Davis and the other younger Digidestined to help. So, there's a lot that they cut out this movie. You can really tell while watching it.
You can.
If I recall, Wendigo is some type of, just some sort of folklore. I just couldn't tell you
I
what
think
it
it's
is.
Native American folklore.
It's either, I don't remember if it's Canadian, in the Canada area, or if it's in the American Southwest.
I think
It's one of those 2.
near, the southern border of or the U.S., near Mexico.
Sounds about right.
I think it's that. So, yeah, it's that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I figure, we might as well start with the first one, since it was the first one we were shown, and it's worth noting that the first 2 films, Digimon Adventure and Our War Game, of the short films within the larger film, it's kind of confusing to talk about like that, were directed by Mamoru Hosoda, the guy who would go on to direct The Girl Leapt Through Time, Wolf Children, Summer Wars. You can definitely see his style of drawing and animating is all over that movie. It looks very different from the TV show, but I actually like it because the action scenes look really nice.
So good. I loved the red outlines while they were in the internet.
Yeah, as a subtle little thing, but it was nice.
Yeah, I think he directed another episode in the first series. It's the one where Tag gets back to the real world. You can really see a difference because I think when they digital world, the other directors, there's a lot of focus on the kids, the Digimon, the characters. But even in the movie, there's a lot more focus on the setting. You see the entire room, not just close-ups of the characters.
It's really great.
I do remember that because there was a different animation thing going on when Tai does go back for the first time.
I would have loved it if it stayed that way.
That would have been pretty epic.
It would have been really expensive, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. With how many episodes is the first season? 60?
Lots.
54, I think.
Yeah,
Something.
see, so
It was
that's
in the 50s, yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot of money to make something look that good all the time. We were commenting, I remember, because we all watched this together at my apartment. We were all commenting on how cute little baby Kari was with her little whistle, that she was using throughout that whole thing.
Why don't you talk to me with the Why do you talk to me with a whistle, but you use words with him? It's
Yeah.
not fair.
Ty's just like being gypped, And of course, even as a little kid, Ty's got the goggles. Like his future is predestined for him.
Totally.
I'm totally going to buy my child a pair of goggles and just force him to always wear them in hopes that he becomes just like an anime hero.
It's in hopes that he becomes the Digidestin.
Well, just any anime hero would really do.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Simone's got the badass
Simo.
goggles
He
too.
does have the badass goggles.
Naruto has them. I'll try and make sure that he doesn't become Naruto. I'll try and be a parent in some way.
Well, you just can't be murdered by a giant fox.
Well, that would help.
And that would be the key.
The key to solving everything.
Or not be murdered by an earthquake. That's another one.
And remember, I don't know what it's called. Like it in its like baby form, it's all black looking and
Koromon.
stuff.
Oh, what, the baby form?
Yeah.
Oh, what is the
Well, I guess in the baby form, and then also when he's Koromon, he just latches onto their faces and like sucks them dry. It seems like.
Yeah, like
God.
the alien from
I know, like.
Oh, Alien, the facehugger, yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
supposedly
God.
he's just kissing them, but I just assume that he's just sucking out their souls or something. Because it just looks horrifying.
it does look rather horrifying.
The kids looked horribly scarred afterwards. Just, no. No.
Oh, and I think we'd be remiss not to mention the way the very first thing that we see in the movie, the digi rap.
Oh, God.
with those nice like photoshopped, really flat looking images of the Digimon just flying around the screen.
Oh, God. That is one of the few things I think the Pokemon anime has over the Digimon.
What a better
The
rap.
rap. The rap
We're
is
bad at rapping.
Yeah.
quote unquote better.
That's true. I mean, the poker rap actually is kind of cool.
I
Let's be
have it
frank.
on my iPod.
It's really nice.
And I'm ashamed of you.
Love you too.
Are we not going to talk about what happens before the movie?
Well, you mean the Amanda Anaconda thing?
Yes. Isn't that on the DVD too?
We watched it on YouTube, and it was actually, it's like in the first 3 minutes of the movie that's there, but we just skipped that because I just remember that being terrible even as a kid. So watching it now, I'm sure it'd just be painful.
I think I've blocked it from my mind, yeah.
I vaguely remember it, but I just was like, nope, don't care. There's Digimon on the screen now.
Yeah.
And there's an Agumon that's anatomically incorrect.
It's so big.
Yeah. Well, they make the point, like, I think while it's growing, Kari even says, like, this isn't the Agumon that we would come to know later. It's like, no, really. I
he got
couldn't
nerfed.
tell.
My only theory is that since at that point in time the digital world's like time moves like a lot faster, is that they just the Agumon evolved to become smaller and like Charmander sized.
Or maybe that one was just a freak.
Oh yeah,
know?
that one was a mutant.
Because he doesn't go out there, and start being friendly with everyone. When he
No.
turns into Agumon, he sort of stops talking. He's just like grunting, and he just starts killing everything.
Just
He
starts
did
blowing
let
up
Kari
everything
ride
he
on
moves.
his back, though, and that was adorable.
It was adorable.
Like, if I were a baby, I would totally want to
But he
ride on the
like
back of a
ruined their
dinosaur.
wall and jumped out of their house and then destroyed his mom's car because he landed on it.
And a
There's-
bus.
And a bus.
And
just
like
shot
a vending machine.
everything that moved and half the things that didn't move.
Because he tried to shoot out that helicopter in the air.
Yeah.
Remember? I mean, yeah, it was a little bit like horrifying, but also awesome. Because of
was awesome.
explosions, which is always
It
fun.
was pretty awesome.
It was really good animation, yeah.
Oh
Yeah, yeah, it was beautiful.
Well, and I also commented, remember when the parrot thing comes out of its egg, like that egg is like the size of the whole city, and then it opens up and then the bird comes out. And obviously it's like a building sized bird. Even still, in comparison to how big the egg was, it was like, that's a little pathetic, isn't it? Like, why did the egg need to be so big?
Bird, you're disappointed.
Oh, yeah.
But
It also just cracked completely clean. It was like an Easter egg.
yeah. Boop, boop. Well, that's how Digi-Eggs. Well, actually, no, because we saw the other one crack and it cracked like a normal egg. So,
Well, like I think in the show, like it cracks and it's like the Tamagotchi, or not cradle, like what would you put a baby in?
like a stroller
Well,
or
it's like the bassinet maybe. That's what they like. That's what the egg becomes basically.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
that's talking
it's a
about
cradle.
Yeah, cradle. Okay.
cradle. Okay.
It just cracks in half and comes. Does it come out as Paramount? I can't remember.
It just sort of
does.
drops out, I
Yeah.
think.
Just pops out as just a fully evolved Paramount thing.
Yeah. But the fight there between Greymon and the parrot guy, I thought was pretty cool because once again, like the animation was actually really well done there.
Mm-hmm.
The animation was really well done. Watching a giant T-Rex that breathes fire beat the crap out of a giant bird is just entertaining.
It's just also a really cool looking T-Rex.
Yeah.
Well, of course. I mean, Greymon's probably one of the best designs they ever did for Digimon.
Oh, so good. That's why they keep bringing him back in later seasons.
Well, he's probably one of the most popular, I gotta believe.
I would assume to be so.
Yeah. But, that was awesome. And it was also kind of a nice moment, there as far as like having a dramatic narrative goes, where Kari's trying to whistle, poor Agumon awake, and she can't do it. And then Tai just goes out and, takes a big, deep breath and does the super whistle, that of course wakes him up.
And it's so loud and obnoxious that like even the other Digidestin recognize, hey, it's that really annoying soccer kid.
Oh, that guy. Well, I think someone called him by name, didn't they? Like,
wasn't
isn't
it
that
Sora?
Tai? I don't know. Which I was sort of making fun of the whole movie, or not the whole movie, but during that part, like, I know that it's a plot point in the Mayorismon arc that the kids who saw the fight that day are the ones who are destined to become the Digidestined. Even though this fight took place over a huge city, like multiple city blocks, in fact, it must have caused like a huge uproar, but apparently only 8 kids saw it in all those apartments.
Only 8 worthwhile ones. Well, actually, probably 6 worthwhile ones, and they just grabbed 2 more.
6 worthwhile ones, and also Joe and Mimi.
Because, like, there's no way anyone could sleep through that, unless you're, like, the deepest sleeper in the world.
I would hate myself if I slept through that.
Yeah, that's like...
I would be ashamed. Like, I don't normally, like, I hate getting woke up in the middle of the night, but if I'm going to get woke up in the middle of the night, it should be by a giant T-Rex breathing fire fighting a giant parrot.
Yeah. Well, is this sort of like a retcon thing or something? Because obviously later they introduced this idea that this Digimon battle going on, and they show it here in this movie. But when when Myotismon and all those Digimon come to the real world, everyone's like really shocked about it, even though technically they should know that 2 giant monsters came and battled in this Japanese city in the middle of the night, all these years ago.
Most people believed it was like an urban legend.
How's that an urban legend?
I think I could explain the show is that I guess nobody else saw it, and they just thought it was like a terrorist attack they mentioned. So
Yeah, that's the way the news put it off. It was a terrorist attack where they dropped giant dinosaurs in.
This is still like the late 80s, early 90s, right? Like, they have video cameras. There's no way no one got a picture of that.
Well, not video cameras everywhere.
Don't question it.
All right. I know it's Digimon. I shouldn't be questioning it. Although, to question something else, why when Greymon does his fire breath, and destroys the parrot guy, why does it also kill him, just conveniently causing them both to disappear? Because that never, Greymon never dies from his own flames in the TV show.
That's why they nerfed him. He was too powerful, and he accidentally destroyed himself. So they decided that was a bad evolutionary trait. So they made him smaller and less powerful,
right? And
also just not kill himself.
Yeah, but there are there are multiple Digimon. It's not like there's just one Agumon in the world, right?
Yeah, that is the case.
So,
use the original, maybe.
The original
Agumon, yes.
It's the Atom of Agumon. Or maybe Eve. I don't judge.
We don't judge.
It was a girl Greymon, yeah.
That's why it's so much larger. It's female.
There you
That's
go. Well,
pretty normal
they
in
always
animals.
say that it's like the mom, like grizzly bears, they have to be worried about,
Yeah.
So there you go. And we'd be remiss, not to mention both in this part and throughout the movie the awesome '90s soundtrack that this film has going on.
God. I love that soundtrack. There's like 2 songs on it that I dislike.
Yeah, I don't know. I downloaded some of them off of YouTube. Like because I still just listening to them before I even watched this movie. I was like, oh yeah, I remember hearing this and that where it appeared in the movie. Because it's just so embedded in my childhood. Because I watched this movie like all the time when I was young.
From the age of a child, whenever I heard 1 week, I would think of the Digimon movie. Like even to the point when I didn't remember much about the Digimon movie. I just it was just instant. 1 week Digimon.
No, seriously, even growing up, throughout my entire life, even when I just didn't think about Digimon on any amount of basis, it was 1 week or All Star came on. Hey, that was in the Digimon movie. I remember Digimon.
That was a good show.
Yes, that's the way we know the super famous song through Digimon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of the songs you can tell they're 90s just because of the way they're written. They're a little cheesy, in that 90s way, but it's a cool kind of thing. I personally really liked it.
Yeah. Just think of a 90s band Mind My Bosstones. Yep, there's a song. Bare Naked Ladies. There's a song in that too. Smash Mouth. There's another
Yep.
one.
Yeah, no, just
Like any up.
Kids in America was a song there.
Oh yeah, any upbeat '90s band or songs. There's probably it's in the album or the soundtrack.
So good.
Yeah. So then I think we can move on to the second short film, Our War Game, which I think is by far the best of the three.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes.
You know, we might as well also call it the prequel to Summer Wars, since Morosoda used the same plot as
it
Summer
really
Wars.
is the exact same plot.
Yeah.
Like watching Summer Wars, it is just the same plot.
I mean, like I said on the Summer Wars podcast, in Summer Wars, there's this whole family aspect, you know, that he adds
There
to it.
is
That's
that.
the real story of the movie. That's completely not in this one. But the whole, like, you know, I got to assume that Mamoru sort of like came up with this idea and like, oh, let's do this in a Digimon movie. It'll be fun, you know. And he liked it so much that he wanted to do it in his own original film.
In a proper one.
In a like
Basically.
in a real like
Legit.
What was it? 100 or what? How long was Summer Wars? Like 100.
It was like
minutes.
90 minutes.
90
yeah, like
minutes,
an
like a
actual
full, like-
feature film, basically.
Like a full length 90-minute movie. So
you know,
just
and
the
not a
40 minutes.
Digimon movie.
Yeah,
Right.
like Digimon OVA.
There's
Wonder
no
which one made more money.
there's no monsters from the internet in Summer Wars.
No, there are monsters from the internet.
Well, there is a virus that turns into a monster, so I guess that counts.
And there are like people's avatars who look vaguely designed similar
really?
to Digimon that fights them.
Have you not seen Summer Wars?
I have not.
All right.
I just heard the connection between that one or this our war game that's actually made to like another movie by the same guy.
Yeah, Summer Wars.
Yeah, well, I'll show it to you sometime. Summer Wars is really good.
It is a pretty good movie.
Yeah. But like as I was saying earlier, though, like we had a family video near my house that we would always go to like rent movies when I was young, and they had this movie, and we rented it all the time. And the majority of the reason I rented it was for the Our War Game part.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because
Totally.
it
That's
was
the best part.
it was so cool as a kid, and I think it held. I mean, overall, I think this movie held up pretty well. You know, like there were some of the jokes and puns that were like cringeworthy, but others that I genuinely like sort of chuckled at.
Yeah.
Why is Ty's mom such a bad cook? It's like, I'm going to make a
worst.
cake out of wheat germ and shakes out of jerky.
And
Yeah.
put it in the microwave for 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's like,
What?
What are you even doing? And
Oh,
does Ty have a dad?
He does.
Yeah.
yes, more or less.
More or less.
Actually,
okay.
I do remember him in the show. It's not. He's there. It's not
He's
really
the-
gone on or it's really
He's-
looked into past like Matt's dad. Or,
Yeah, he's not like a plot point like Matt's dad or like a character thing like Izzy's parents. So
Because I'm just wondering if Ty's always at home, like, does he always have to eat his mom's cooking?
Oh,
like, does he have
God.
no choice?
Maybe that's why he's so fit. He has.
that's
he has to run it
that's,
off.
That's why he wants to go to summer camp so badly. He just does
That's
not need to like be here.
It's also why he survived so well in the digital world.
Yeah.
He's just used to not eating very much
I'm used to being starved to death.
and eating things that don't really taste like food.
Yeah. Well, and you could tell from the first minute that it was going to come back to bite Izzy when he was eating all that
God.
stuff. Because I don't know what's up with his taste buds, but he apparently actually enjoyed some of that stuff.
He was chugging it.
He was like I think she's a good cook, and like you're the bravest man I've ever met. Izzy.
That's
Izzy.
right. That was the line.
Stop encouraging my mother.
Yeah. And also, this is something that Mamoru Soda does well, I think, in all of his films, but he does funny faces really well.
Oh,
and there were a
yeah.
couple of times where Ty just had like these ridiculous faces. Like the one that comes to mind for me was when he got the postcard from Mimi and it flashes to her on the beach and she's like, and I wish you were here. He
I
just
hate
comes
you.
back to his face and he just has like this disgusted look on his face.
I hate you.
I was so happy when there was a nuke flying towards Mimi.
Like, please.
Perfect.
Hit her.
Come on.
I'll have to rewatch the show because I remember Mimi being annoying, but I don't remember hating her.
Oh, you.
98% of her dialogue is just not related to the
This
show.
is, yeah, not plot relevant.
In her defense, though, in the original, she isn't as annoying as much as she cares for things a lot. But in the dub is just thrown out the window just so she can be annoying. She does have some redeeming quality.
So you're
Just
saying
not
in
the dub.
in the Japanese sub.
Yes, that she has some. Some.
Keyword being some.
Emphasize that some.
Had full sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll have to rewatch again. Oh no.
Oh no! And I know that because I've seen Yezu Taku and the nostalgia critic from that guy with the glasses.com did a joint review of this movie that was actually a really funny video.
Oh, that was great.
And you've seen that?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh, I love them. And Yezu Taku, who's like this big Digimon fan, whenever the scene with Sora came up, she started crying. So he's like, they were supposed to be together, because I know that for those people who, agree with that particular ship, like this movie is like the closest we ever see them.
Yeah, it is the closest we've ever seen them. Because in the second season, it's heavily implied that Sora and Matt are together.
Well, after the thing is, like the Christmas episode, he goes concert and she's basically like, "Yeah, I'm into Matt." He's like, "Okay, go ahead, go get Matt."
Oh, well, at least he's nice about it.
Yeah.
He is nice about it.
He's a surprisingly likable main character overall.
No,
Tai is.
Obviously I haven't rewatched the actual TV show as an adult. I just have my memories from childhood. But I love Tai. I don't have any
Tai
problems
was a
with him.
Really
pretty
good
good.
character because he even goes like the second arc of the show. He even goes through like a character arc where things get a little dark for a while,
And it
then-
was the only interesting part of the show.
and it was the only interesting part of that whole arc because that arc was bad.
Which one?
The Adamon arc when he does the Skull Greymon stuff.
Oh yeah, I thought you were talking about. Yeah, that one. I thought you were talking about like the later one, the Dark Master Plot. I'm like, that was not the only interesting part about that one.
No. That one had a
We
lot of
just
good
hate
Edamon.
Edamon.
I like Edmund.
Oh, he's the Elvis monkey.
Yeah,
Elvis
right?
Monkey, yes. And then they bring him back for a couple episodes as Metal Edamon,
And they
and
beat
we
him up.
were sad.
And then they beat him up, and we were happy again.
He got the metal cap from Mario 64.
He did.
Turned into metal.
basically.
And all his attacks were based off of metal music.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
There's the evolution of rock music, kind of.
Also, did it bother anyone else besides me that like Kari's going to like this friend's birthday party and Tai calls her and says like, "Hey, there's this thing going on with our Digimon, in the internet. We need your help." And she's like, "But I have to be here for this party. It's really important." It's like the fate of the world is going on right now, and you want to be at your stupid party, really, Kari?
I agree with that, but I also think that I put up with it because normally she's not that way. Normally she's very good at her job. But in the movie, that's just flat out stupid.
Yeah. So I don't know. That bothered me a little bit, and it was kind of cool, like seeing how they portrayed the internet in this movie, like when they're flying through like those tunnels, with like
a series of tubes.
yeah, I was thinking of that. The internet is a series of tubes with video screens and then like large open areas.
Then a few large open areas where people can fight and throw things at each other.
Yes, because that's how
That's how you internet.
technology works.
That's how the internet works.
Of course. Yeah, but there were some cool visuals with that. Like I remember the one where it's like all those weird like poles are floating around, like
Yeah, I
when he's
love
in
that
his
fight.
ultimate in his ultimate form. That was pretty cool. And like we mentioned before, the animation, especially in this section because it had like the most action I think out of the movie. It was really nice.
So good.
Yes. I really like not that they get her, but like when they get her, like War Greymon and Melgurumon. Is Melgurumon?
Metal
Yes.
Gurumon,
Yes.
Yeah.
Melgurumon. Like when they get hurt, like you can see cracks in like their armor, like everything like that. And
Yeah,
that's,
I
like,
mean-
They looked genuinely
touch.
hurt.
Yes.
They did, and then like War Greymon kept getting his like claw things like ripped off, but he just like punched him anyway. I'm like, yes, you,
That was awesome.
you. Like he did that twice, and I'm like, no, still punching him. Good job, War Greymon. You're the best.
Well, War Greymon has to be one of the best
Oh, so
Digimon
cool.
ever.
Yes.
He's so badass. And I liked it because they introduced like, obviously they had the stuff with the Digimon going on, but then they had the stuff with like, how he was Diaboromon was hacking the real world, sort of like Summer Wars, like how the I think my favorite part was where he changed like the cashiers.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, your total comes out to 1 million, blah blah blah. What? Well, it must be really good chocolates. Paper or plastic? And the guy's just like, blah, blah, blah.
I hate my life.
You just hear like the change clatter to the floor. And I forget I don't remember which song it is, but there's some song that's playing like when those staticky images of him are like going over like all the TV screens throughout the world, like during those montages.
I think that was Kids in America.
I might have been.
I think as America's, I don't remember, but I would think it'd be later since like the third one takes place in America.
Maybe.
I don't know which one that was though.
Still, great soundtrack. Yeah, you should watch you should watch the movie or listen to the soundtrack
Or do both.
or watch the second one because that's the good one.
Yeah, and I also liked how they had this whole plot point, with like all these people like watching them, sending them emails, and that was causing their Digimon to slow down, because they're in the internet and it's causing their computers pretty much. It was also pretty nostalgic to see these really crappy CRT, 90s computers.
And the one Diaboromon cuts out the phone line. It's like, we'll lose our internet. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, dial-up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's like one of the things they said is like how much or how like what's processor was, how much RAM he had. It's like I'm going off. Wait, what was it?
It was like 50 some megabytes, I think.
Yeah, it was
something like that.
It was something stupidly low.
Because you saw when Ty hit the computer, he got the blue screen of death.
No! Although, one plot hole I think that I remember is that how was Ty kept calling everybody on the phone when they were on the internet for like so long? That's not how that works.
2 phone lines?
I don't know.
Apartment?
I've heard people do that, like when dial-up was big. They had like one phone line just for a phone, one phone line just for the internet.
Dear God, that's a dark time.
It was a dark time.
And then Izzy just acquired military-grade equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just like
goes to like a satellite thing, right?
yeah, he goes through like this, like the military satellite because he can just.
Because he's
like,
the
sure,
whiz
fine.
kid.
I'm Izzy. Don't question me.
I'm Izzy. I built a can of tuna and old TV. Don't question me.
Does he really do that in the show?
No.
Okay.
He does like multiple times hack the world.
Yeah,
but
basically.
He does. He cheats
Yeah.
a lot in Digimon. I'm like, no, you're cheating.
Well, in anime in general, it just seems like if you can press a bunch of keys on a computer, then you can hack pretty much anything.
That's any show though.
That's sort
Like
of how
any
it
movie,
works.
you just like, well, I now have hacked the Pentagon. Fire the missiles.
I know you were the one who was angry, like how Izzy was freaking out about how, all those emails were causing their computers to slow down. And you just want him to be like, reply all and be like, hey guys, stop sending us emails. You're slowing down our computer.
Oh no, he does
being
that.
smart.
Like, how do all those kids get his email though?
That is a good question.
Pretty
Maybe when they're fighting in the digital world, it has like your email above their heads, sort of like your username.
He does need a password to go on. I think they're just fighting on the email because, like, he says he needs a password to get on the internet.
And use prodigious.
Yes.
Prodigious.
My password is
mean,
prodigious.
He
I don't
used
even
that
know.
a lot in the show, didn't he?
Yeah.
All the time.
I don't even know how to spell that.
PROIDIGIOUS.
Yeah, but see, like the movie, is the our War Games thing is pretty good, throughout. But by far, like I think it like is legitimately like pretty dramatic and good there near the end. You know, when they come to that big room with all the Diaboromons.
And they're just crawling over and they're like, oh.
And what was it? I forget if it was there. I think it was earlier in the movie where he did the thing that no villain ever does in any anime and attacked them during their transformation.
Yeah, he cheated. He shot them while they were doing their transformation sequence, and they could not transform, and that was cheating.
Also, just incredibly intelligent. Like, wow.
Yeah, he's genre savvy. He
Like,
knows.
you were on the internet. You're genre savvy. Oh, no, we're all going to die.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a nice little inversion, given that in any show, the villains are usually pretty courteous. Like I noticed it a lot in Naruto, where they'll just go like talk back and forth, and then start fighting to the death, and then stop and start talking again, very pleasantly.
That frustrated me so much when I watched
The
Naruto. I'm like, stop talking.
monologues.
Keep fighting. Stop doing flashbacks to your stupid backstory. I don't care. I wanted to see the ninjas fight.
Let's just see ninjas fight, not talk.
So many monologues.
Yeah. Well, and all the flashbacks, all them flashbacks.
Hey,
But anyways, the part where all the Diaboromon shoot those beams at, Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon, like you said, you see like the close-ups of them and like their masks and armor are like really cracked and like they're not
like,
moving.
shattering, and they're like getting crap kicked out of them. Explosives.
And Ty and Matt are like, like freaking out, like going towards their TV screens, like, I need to be there for him.
And then they both are.
Yeah, which was pretty cheesy, how they basically get into the internet through love, and their love is what causes them to combine.
I wish they had they just use their digivices in the because that's how they get into the digital world in the second season. So
They
it
just
would
sort of
be
like poke their digivice.
But
into
technically,
yeah.
they're not going to the digital world; they're going into the internet, isn't
no,
it?
isn't
True.
it the same
but
thing?
it's the same thing, and the digivices is like a
Technically.
catch-all. So whatever. I would have bought that a little bit better if they just used
Love.
the digivice,
I guess. But
or their love for each other had to bring them
but by
together.
far, like when I was a kid, like the single coolest thing I'd ever seen, up to that point was when, Weregurumon and Metal Greymon, basically the idea that two Mega Digimon could combine into something even more powerful was like, mind blowing.
They're gonna combine.
Yes.
With our powers combined.
Yeah, Super Ultra Combining Gurren Lagann. Just who the hell do you think we are?
And then they proceeded to just shoot all of the Diaboromon, and that was pretty cool.
And sword. They sorted a lot of them too.
And they sorted,
Yeah.
Sword was
Well,
really
and I
cool.
love it when,
was.
because like I think it's really well directed. Where like the Diaboromons are like shooting all these beams, and they like get out their sword and like hit the beams all the way back at him.
No,
and
sit
like
down.
just as he like swings the sword, like another awesome '90s rock song, comes in, and then he starts blasting them away with the cannon and everything.
So cool.
Yeah, and then you had like the genuinely like stressful thing where like, the timer is clicking down, and they're trying to get the one, but it's just jumping all over the place like they're too slow, and you're seeing the nuclear missiles, being fired, which of course, going back to the Summer Wars sort of thing, like apparently he's able to shoot nuclear missiles through the internet.
Yep. I'd buy that.
Keeping in mind this is like 90s internet, not even like, Summer Wars internet where it's like everything is connected. So that's a little meh, but whatever, it makes for good stakes, and, you get that awesome charge where Omnimon is going towards Diaboromon and, as he has the epic line, "You got mail," as he sends all the mail, to
Directly to
Diaboromon.
Diaboromon. No, the lag. Infinite hourglass of doom.
Yeah, because I think the hourglass even appeared over
pops
his
up
head.
in front of his face. And just a sword goes through his face.
That was
It's
so
like,
good.
Shing.
So that was like a genuinely like really intense moment, and then you had the nice little epilogue too, where Sora like got Ty's email, which I forgot to mention that earlier, but I thought that was funny, where like Kari like, changed it to like love Ty and hit send.
No, it already was Love Tie. She just sent it.
That's right, but he
Yeah.
didn't mean for it to be that way. Like it like auto corrected to love Ty or something like that because he didn't
Something
mean
like
for it
that.
to be like that, and then she just sends it, and he's like, "What?" It's like
What?
I'm 12. I'm not allowed to express feelings to a girl.
pretty much. So it had a nice little conclusion, and everything wrapped up with bow, and it was lovely. And then we get to the third movie, which is by far the worst. I might search it out. I would like to see the actual like original Japanese version just to see it like not butchered to death with editing. It might actually be pretty good.
I
I
would
ha-
like to see that too.
I have. I want to say like I like war games better anyway, but it makes sense.
So that's something that we can't really say about this one.
No,
It's
like
something we can't say about this version. But then again, that no matter what it is, it still has Davis in it, so it can't be that much better.
like for instance, it starts out with TK and Kari with Mimi in like whatever U.S. town they're in or city.
think-
So it explains why they're there at least. Like they're
I
visiting
think they
her.
said that they were visiting Mimi in her
Yeah, but they don't
monologue.
show it at
They don't
all.
show it all.
Yeah, they do not show Mimi.
They also
which is
say that it's to
fine
make
with me.
TK, Davis jealous, which I don't quite understand.
because
Yeah,
it's
because I thought Kari just completely ignored him.
no
Yeah.
Kari and TK were obviously a thing,
Well,
and
The extent to which their thing is questionable in this show. They're very obviously very close, and it seems like they end up together. But most Digimon fans are just like, no, they're a thing. That is the one solid ship.
it's
Yeah.
like they're a thing. Davis is
But they-
one shot at crush.
They literally like
There.
spend all their time together, so it's like,
Yeah.
come on.
The alternate theory is that just they really, really don't like Davis. They're just screwing with him the entire time.
I would be fine with that
I would be okay with that too.
because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
You, Davis.
Yeah, well, because I didn't watch much of the second season. I saw some stuff
Good.
here and there, but this movie reminded me of why it wasn't as good. Because that's the thing that I like the Digimon Emperor guy. Like that was actually kind of interesting, and he was sort of this interesting character when he became good because he had
Oh my
like
God,
this
that was
back
the best
side to him.
transition ever.
But the but all of the other three, Davis and as well as the two others, like I never
Yoli
really
and
liked them
Cody.
as much as the
Yeah, nobody
original
cares about them.
cast.
Nobody cares about it.
The problem is that like you watch the first season, there's monsters fighting, but the thing like you go back watching for is because of character development, like how they grow as characters. So that's kind of like the theme of
And
Digimon through every season.
Most of the characters get at least some form of development. Even Joe gets a bit of development towards the end. Mimi gets some development episodes, but it very rarely sticks, at least in the dub.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the theme for like
The
every
others-
season.
The
They
other
get-
6 keep
they-
their
Yeah,
developments.
they like become better people at the end. Second season,
No.
Davis, Yoli and Cody. Nothing happens.
They don't change.
No.
They're static
Yeah.
characters.
Cody's grandfather gets more character development than any of the main cast.
Wow.
That is,
Even Kari and TK go through like a kind of half an arc ish thing. And that's just noticeable because the others aren't doing anything.
Yeah, I will say the one thing that redeems Davis is that Vmon is a really
So cool.
awesome Digimon.
I do love Vemon's chain. like,
A lot of
evolution
people
chain.
just say he's a discount Agumon, and I guess that's kind of true. I still like him quite a lot, and his evolutionary chain, all his armor evolutions, except for the electric friendship one that's really just a mount.
I like that one.
I think it looks silly.
I
I
like
know.
him.
It was cool, and it did bring up a good question, like why don't we just use this earlier, when eventually he and Willis just get on it to go where they need to go.
Because that would be, I don't know, sensible.
Sensible. Well, you guys pointed out to me, like, this is the second season where, like, Digimon being in the real world is not such a big deal. Because I was, like, really freaking out for a sec when those kids were by him and were like, yeah, awesome. That, like, horrified that this mutant monster is in front of them.
Please, you would be awesome. You would be, like, amazed.
I think it would be
but-
cool, but still, it shouldn't be a normal thing.
like, I remember watching a show, I remember them trying to hide Digimon, like, all the time, though. Like, everybody thought they were stuffed animals, like,
it's-
never remembered.
They bring them back to the normal world more often, but they don't ever. Like, it's not like people just see Digimon. They're like, oh, yeah, that's a Digimon.
Yeah, like, that's kind of weird to me, because they're like, oh, yeah, all this fighting, everybody saw that. No. But then, like, they're bringing them in the real world or in the movie. It's just like, oh, yes, I know exactly, I want one of those. Just
It's just inconsistent.
yes.
Yeah. Well, sounds like the whole second season was kind of inconsistent.
Very.
Yeah.
Okay. Getting back to the movie, though, what they try to pull here to connect it with the other movies is that I guess when Diaboromon died, the virus transferred from Diaboromon into,
Lopmon.
into what was it, like
It's technically a
Kokomon? That was
Kokomon.
That was its like first version, and that caused it to turn all evil, I guess. So I don't know. It's all basically told through exposition or like those monologues of Kari talking, 'cause she like mentions Willis very briefly, like earlier in the movie, but it like happens so fast and you don't understand it at all if you haven't seen the movie that it just sort of flies over your head.
Izzy does too in the second movie. He's like he'll be like talking like in regular voice, They'll be like, oh, and Wilson America, he's helped me do this and this, and it's just like or flung at you so fast. It's just like, what?
And then-
that doesn't seem.
Because then you kind of forget about the Willis part when the Diaboromon stuff really starts up, and you're like, oh, never mind. That we're going to focus on that because War Greymon's on the screen fighting him.
Pretty much.
More interesting.
Although one of the redeeming qualities of the third movie has to be Terriermon.
Terriermon.
Oh yes.
Terriermon
God.
getting introduced a season early.
Yeah, because
They're
were
just so adorable and just really well written.
Yeah, well, yeah. Throughout the whole thing, we were admiring him because he, I think like thinking with the three seasons, like Agumon, Vmon, and Terriermon are probably like the three most popular from the first three seasons. Is that an
Probably.
accurate statement?
Not many people remember third season, but Terramon is my favorite from that one.
I'm a
don't-
huge fan of third season. I think the Agumon of that season is also very
Guillamon?
good. Guillamon.
Guillamon,
I'm a huge fan of Guillamon just because he's so
Guilllamon's-
derpy.
Guillermon's adorable, but I mean, if I had to guess, like who people like want toys, it would probably be Terriermon.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
Terriermon's just cute, but then also
cute.
when he turns into is it Garurumon? Like
No,
Gargamon.
Gargamon with the machine guns and pants.
He has pants.
Pantsmon.
That's all you need. And I liked it because the first time he did that in the movie, he didn't use his Gatling guns to like shoot at the guy. He hits him with them.
Pistol
He
whip.
just like punches him and then he shoots him. I'm like,
Yeah, pretty
sure,
much.
fine. You know what? Go for it, Terriermon. You
Cool.
can do whatever you want.
You're the best.
Yeah. So Terriermon's overall cuteness, helped lift this movie up a little bit. Yeah, and man, like I said, I haven't seen Digimon as recently as you guys had, so I had forgotten how kind of annoying Davis was because even like
Kind of.
when they were on the beach, like someone mentions like Kari texting him, he's like, "What? Kari texting me?" He's like freakishly obsessed with her. You
It's
think
stalker.
he could take a hint since she seems to have no interest in him.
That's the saddest thing I ever heard. You can stop crying. I mean, it has nothing to do with you. Okay.
Yeah, I had everyone pause before that because I knew it was coming.
That is a weird cut. Like I wonder, like I feel like that scene has to be watched in the actual Japanese version for it to make sense because that was just weirdly cut.
I don't remember what that was like about because honestly, that one kind of goes on the longer scale, but it was not simply like, oh my god, you're so sad. Well, get over it. Okay, all happy. It was.
It was so bizarre because it's literally like the next second
Rip my ass out.
he's not crying anymore. He just takes his goggles. So that was just bizarre.
That was bizarre.
And then as I was explaining before, apparently in the actual version of this movie, like it sort of explained before that like I guess he's been turning the villain has been turning like some of the older Digidestin into kids, like messing with time and stuff. But since that's not at all explained in this cut of the movie, when they start turning into kids during the final battle, it just seems completely
No
out of
sense.
nowhere.
Just yeah,
What? What?
Yeah.
sure, fine, whatever. You can go back to the past. You can time travel. Yeah, like you wanted him to time.
to the beginning.
You wanted him to time travel. Well, I'm sorry. That was a little bit outside my skill range.
Yeah. And this one wasn't done by Mamoru Hosoda, so it looks a bit more normal Digimon-ish. But the animation was still nice during the fight scenes. I mean, those were still cool to watch. But I don't know. It was kind of cool to see the villain. He eventually went into his mega form with what is that? Fudge! I forgot the name of it, but. That same Digimon is one of the main villains in the 4th season. I remember.
Is that? That's not what mine is.
It's like Cherubimon or something like that.
Cherubimon.
Something like that,
Something
yeah.
like that, yeah.
Yeah, because I actually liked the 4th season quite a bit, and he was a pretty threatening villain in that show.
Yeah. That's actually a really good story. That there's 4 seasons involving him. Is just really I don't know how to describe it. It's just really well written, kind of political corruption, all this and that. Just brings a lot into the show.
So wait. Are you trying to tell us the 4th season is in fact worth it? No.
I've seen it. It's the first, say, 15-ish episodes are pretty good. Then just hits a slant where nothing happens. Then spikes up here because it's basically, I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's actually pretty different plot or twists they haven't put on the
Does
show
Leomon
yet.
die?
He is
must
actually
die.
a villain, and
What? Really?
well, yeah, it's weird.
Huh.
Then it just tanks again. But the part where him, a Cherubimon, there's 2 more, and he's a bad guy because he just thought they were against him, even though they weren't. And it's really interesting. Just
We'll give that
part.
one a shot.
Yeah,
We'll give
I
4th
don't know.
season a shot.
It's been a long time since I've seen it, but the thing I remember about 4th season being cool is that it literally gets to a point where most of the digital world is destroyed. The villains in the second half of the show are actually pretty competent, which is a change from most Digimon.
Very. They pretty much destroyed the world.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of cool to see. And then, okay, maybe you guys can explain this to me because finally TK and Kari show up in this final battle and have their Digimon warp digivolve to their mega forms, and I forget what is it, Serafimon, Angemon's full Digivolution looks badass as hell. But then both of them turn into their mega forms, look super awesome, and then just devolve back to normal so they could give Willis and Davis these golden Digi-Egg things.
Yeah. I remember seeing those things as a child and being like, I want to see those fight. And I never remembered seeing them fight. So I was like, oh, great, this is going to be awesome. And then they just give out the Digi Eggs.
Right,
And
'cause-
in season 2, there was one plot point where the golden egg was like a thing. And there was one of them. And it just never showed up again, to be honest.
So what? So are these golden eggs just like make you super powerful for like a short time?
Yeah. It's sort of like the power-up star in Mario.
I see. I don't know. I just guess I didn't understand. Like, we're gonna turn into these super awesome things, and then just like ruin all of our powers, so that the two main characters can turn into super powerful, awesome things.
But I want to see you fight because you've got like a million wings and a giant mask, and you just look so cool. And then there's also just a big pink lion dragon, like the thing from Neverending Story.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
Falcor. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And what's cool about it though is like, because I remember like it always took TK longer to digivolve his Digimon than anyone else, because like all of his digivolutions like were like big steps up. Like what's the ultimate one called again?
It's just Magna Andromon.
Yeah.
Something like that, because he beat Piedmon, that they had been struggling with for so long in like one hit.
Like,
So I don't even know what his mega evolution must be like, but we don't even get to see him do anything.
shake fists angrily in the air.
Because Seraphon looks like the best, and that is upsetting because it's like, oh, so you two suddenly have the power to digivolve beyond like where you two were, and instead of fighting the thing yourselves, you're going to sacrifice that. You're going to give the golden Digi-Egg, which is a power that we never knew that you had, and is never brought up again in the entire series, to Davis and Willis so that they can fight the thing and win and be done with it. I'm like, well, but that's stupid.
I will say the golden versions of Vmon and Terriermon do look really cool, especially Vmon's one, because he's like on the cover of the movie, I remember, and I always thought he looked really cool. And so, they go inside his mouth, and blow up all the evil inside of him, and it turns him all good, and he fades away, and everything is over.
And then he comes back as the Digi-Egg just floating around in
Right,
the water.
which-
And he's dancing
Which I was, well, yeah,
to Smash Mouth.
that was something. Was that in the Japanese version? Because I can't
Him
believe.
dancing.
Well, I guess they must have animated him dancing, but it must not have been to that. I don't know what it was to then.
I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure you can check this or look this up yourselves, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't come back in the Japanese version. He dies.
But they have the Digi-Egg wash up on the shore, so
That
It
could be
doesn't
just
work.
a one-time animation.
There's something like it was corrupted and it just didn't work. So that is a darker way to end it, but I kind of like it better. More like, oh, everything's happy. It's like, no, sorry.
yeah. Well, to my understanding, though, it makes like what Davis says is true. Like Digimon never really die. They just become data and become Digi-Eggs again. But they're always born in like that one spot in the digital world. Why does this one happen to wash up on the shore in the human world? That doesn't make any sense.
It really doesn't.
So just another plot inconsistency to finish out this movie.
The entire movie, this entire third section of the movie just makes little to no sense.
Yeah. So, I don't know, overall thoughts on the Digimon movie as a whole. I think we can all agree the third part is pretty bad. That's the part we just don't want to remember, But the first two are actually legitimately still fun to watch, and pretty, epic when they want to be. So I thoroughly enjoyed, taking this trip down nostalgia lane.
And if you ever just want like all of the 90s music, just like
there.
There
Good
you go.
soundtrack, yeah.
Dan, what did you think of it?
Honestly, as a kid, I really got bored during the last story, so I didn't watch the movie that many times. I did really like the War Games part of it, but I was just watch the show. I didn't really rent the movie. Like one time was enough for me.
Peter?
I really liked the first two parts. The third portion is definitely a bit rough for me. It just seems really choppy overall. So I feel like
a lot
you
of
could
that's
just
due to
stop.
that editing, probably.
Yeah, probably. But I love Digimon. I'll watch this till the day I die.
Is that so? When you're like an 80-year-old man, you're still going to be watching Digimon.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Andrew, what about you?
Little kid me loved watching the Digimon movie. Like I watched the Digimon movie probably as much as I watched the first 2 Pokemon movies, which were like my favorite 2 Pokemon movies. The third one was weird. And I remember not liking the first part because as a kid, and I guess this is where the comic book thing comes in, I was really big as a kid on like continuity for like TV shows and movies, and like the weirdest things bothered me. I was really, really uppity about that, which probably explains the whole why I'm so obsessed with comic books now. But
comics are just a continuity mess.
I know, it's so much fun to figure out. It's like a puzzle now. But War Games is just so much fun just to watch. Just War Greymon and Melgrumon just look great in that movie. The fight scenes are awesome. Omnimon is just the best. And just that whole thing was just so good. Like even watching it now, I'm like, yeah, that's actually really good. I like that. I really like War Games. So definitely, if you're gonna watch it, just watch that, and then you can just kind of stop and walk away.
Yeah, you don't have to skip the third part, or at least watch it knowing that it is a heavily edited version of the original, and be wary of that. So now we'll move on to the most recent episode of Korra, episode 9, The Guide. This was definitely more of a sort of like cool down episode, I think, because after, 7 and 8, the beginnings, with all this huge important stuff happened, I think it makes sense that they have an episode where like not as much happens, before they ramp back up for the finale. So it was nice. I was obviously very glad to see, Jinora and the spirit world finally, come into play, like after we'd seen it in the trailers, and heard about it for so long. Finally here in episode 9, we're actually getting to that portion of the show. I was thinking about one thing, though, because the whole reason Korra left Republic City in the first place was to get an army from the Fire Nation to go help her father in the South, like to survive, against the Northerners. And now she just sort of completely abandoned that idea to go into the spirit world and stop harmonic convergence, which makes sense because that's coming up here soon. But she doesn't know, because to my knowledge, the last time we heard about the war, Unalaq said, or his general said, like, oh, the rebels are hiding in the forest. And he's like, don't worry about them, just guard the portal. So it doesn't seem like Unalaq's like actively trying to kill them, at least. But Korra doesn't know that. Like, he could be massacring her people as she speaks, and she's not doing anything about it, pretty much. So I was a little like, getting that Fire Nation army might not be a bad idea.
But she is the Avatar before she's a Water Nation person.
And dealing with the harmonic convergence is more important.
It is.
Than the Water Tribe.
But, like, I don't know, you could have, like, Boomy is just chilling there, Couldn't he go
He's retired.
Well, but I'm sure he could either get some United Forces people or go in her stead, or have someone
Forces
go.
People would be,
yeah,
like her getting United Forces people, and it just
okay. Maybe that wouldn't work. But my point is, she could send one of them to go to the Fire Nation, to
just either go to the Fire Nation or go back and help fight.
Yeah, or do something, to work on that. But they've just sort of dropped that for the moment, Which, like I said, it seems like Unalaq's not really actively trying to fight them. He's more worried about the portal, so it's not that big of a deal. But
well, it's possible that she thinks that she probably has hopefully figured out that he's connected to the harmonic convergence, and that by doing this will ultimately help solve that problem.
Yeah, that's true. As far as obviously the main plot for this episode is this whole sort of conflict with Tenzin, like having trained his whole life to be this, man of the spiritual, guide, like he wanted to go in the spirit world and guide the Avatar towards her destiny. And I feel like, he was talking about how, like, this is my father's, great dream for me, like my one greatest failure, blah, blah, blah. But just given the way he was talking and how sort of Tenzin is, I'm sort of imagining that this is something where he saw Aang, like, going into the spirit world and doing, like, these spiritual things as the Avatar, and just sort of said, okay, I need to do that since I'm going to be the next airbender, because I don't feel like Aang would be the type to like demand like, okay, you must learn spirit world stuff, and be really good at it. I feel like that's more Tenzin's own expectations, that he's put up on himself, not expectations that Aang put on him. I don't know. What did you guys think of that?
I feel basically the same way. I feel like at some point there will be a sit-down talk with Aang where he talks to Korra about, like, you know, his mistakes when he was alive. And he'll talk about, like, his relationship with his children a bit and how he would have changed. Just because I feel like they wouldn't be doing all this, you know, family stuff otherwise.
Right. I don't know. What did you think about the whole Tenzin arc in this episode?
I kind of like it because it shows that Tenzin, for all he is and all he's trying to do, he is not perfect. He's been trying to get in the spirit world all this time and just cannot do it. I think that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And just an idea, like, they said, I don't know, like, when Aang died, but obviously it was before he saw his grandchildren. Maybe that kind of played a part into it, like he died too early before he could help him get into the spirit world or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. Because it was said when they're having their family conflicts earlier that Aang was super busy being the Avatar, you know, that he didn't have a whole lot of time for his kids, which makes sense, you know, being the savior of the world and all, kind of a full-time job. I also think, you know, I was talking about this Fire Nation thing earlier. I think part of the reason I might want it to happen so bad is just because I want to see old Zuko. Like, that was the thing I had been saying I wanted really bad.
That really is the key. Is you just want to see Zuko as he is now. Like,
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like it doesn't seem like they're doing it in this season anymore, but I feel like we'll get to it in seasons 3 or 4. You know?
Probably.
Hopefully.
Oh, yes.
It's coming. It's just a question of when. Also, was it just me, or it's definitely seemed like Kaya had a little relationship thing with Jinora, which was nice. Like, she was the one who was protective of her and, like, telling Tenzin, no, Jinora's got something to tell you. You know, she's the one who's destined to do this.
She's the really friendly aunt who's just,
Seems that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah,
I
I
think-
like that Kaya because she was needs something. Because right now she's just kind of like there. Because Boomie's all crazy and Tenzin's like a main
Strict and
character.
she's in the
and
middle.
She's kind of just there so far, and she's like, yeah, that's lovely.
I think part of why Tenzin can't get into the spirit world is because he's just so grounded in reality. Like, he's a very
Serious.
realistic, serious
Yes.
person,
Well-
and it might just not work.
Yeah, and he was, I mean, it's not a normal thing for a non-Avatar to go into the spirit world. Like, we know
Not
that
super
we
normal.
know that Iroh did it in the original show, but I don't know of any other non-bender who went into the spirit world besides him that we know of. You know, I mean, I assume some of the air nomads and like the monk Gyatso, you know, maybe, or not monk Gyatso, but the monk that Aang talks to in book 2, you know, like maybe some of those people who are like super spiritually enlightened can do it, you know, but most people can't. So, you know, it's not a normal thing. And Tenzin was very much trying to force himself to do it too, you know, with like the proper herbs, you know, everything had to be just perfect. And when it wasn't, he just stormed off, you know, it's
Had a tantrum.
angry Tenzin. And it was a nice, I thought it was a nice little bit of animation there. You know, another thing we'd seen in the trailers for a while with Korra spirit bending that big group of bats, you know, and dispersing them away, you know. Although in that whole bit, she talked about how, like, Unalaq had trained her, you know, but she said, oh, whereas he trained me, you know, only for his own benefit, you know, you trained me, Tenzin, you know, because for my sake, you know, because it was the right thing to do, blah, blah, blah.
He also just didn't train her that much.
Well-
She just watched him do it a couple times.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I assume that Unalaq did train her at some point, given that reference, but we never saw it. You know, I mean, because it didn't even seem like they were together for that long. You know, after the whole like she closed the portal and then came back. You know, and the Northerners had invaded the South. You know, like all that seemed to happen within the span of about like a week or so.
Yeah.
And then we come to Unalaq's story in this episode, which I thought it was cool to finally, like, confirmation of what we already very heavily suspected, that he's working with Vatu, you know, basically Vatu's servant, and that he is there, you know, through the portal, entering that spot where we saw Vatu and Juan fight, you know, all those years ago.
Harmonic convergence has to happen. So
Right. I will say he fell down a few points on the villain ladder for me in this
He's so
episode
fast.
with his like, all right, well, we can't open, you know, the Avatar's not here to open the northern portal, so we're just going to water bend it open and we're going to force it to happen.
It's just the dumbest thing ever. It's just like 4 people shooting hoses at like a wall.
Yeah.
that'll work. Good job.
You know, and he, of course he was just a dick, you know, to his kids where the one Desna, you know, gets hurt, you know, falls down and he's like, don't worry about him, you know, keep helping me because this is totally working. You know?
Yep.
Totally working.
Do I foresee a heel face turn coming?
Yeah, no, Eska is
kids?
definitely going to
Seriously.
betray the dad. I think
Mm-hmm.
they're setting that up.
Yeah.
Which I could see Eska actually being like a likable character. If she lost some of her psychopathic tendencies,
Or just like enough for her to be like funny.
yeah, like the combo of her like funny like lines that we had in the early part of the seasons, but not the type where she's so overbearing that it's just terrible to watch Bolin go through it. There's got to be some happy medium there. Where Eska
And
becomes
her
bearable.
and Spolin can actually be together, and that'd be cute.
Together forever.
And ever in
Ever.
icy bliss.
Yes. But I don't know. Yeah, this because I do understand. Like, it seems that going through the portal, you're actually physically entering the spirit world rather than just your spirit entering the spirit world. And thus, Unalak and Eska and Desna were able to bend in the spirit world, which is not something you can do normally. So I guess I can see like why Unalak could say like, oh well, since we can bend, maybe that we can make this happen because we're special. We're benders, blah blah blah. But it's still shooting water at a portal. Doesn't seem like the smartest idea in the world. It does beg an interesting question, though, because at the end of the episode, Vatu basically tells him, like, the Avatar is in the spirit world. She's going to come here, So when Korra eventually arrives there, how is Korra going to fight off Unalak if she can't bend and he can?
I'm wondering if they're not just going to make that. I'm wondering if they're not just going to make that a sort of bending zone. Like, you can bend here because you're supposed to be able to bend here. And
See, I don't think they can, though, because remember, Juan also physically entered the portal when he came there to fight Vatu.
She might be able to enter into the Avatar state and maybe bend that way.
I think that could work, since technically, when she's in the Avatar state, like Rava is most fully, going
They're-
through her,
yeah,
and
they're
Rava is a
connected.
spirit. So maybe Avatar state she could, but even that still limits her ability to bend.
But she can enter into the Avatar state at will. So
True, but we're speculating here. Maybe even Avatar state won't do it in the spirit
it's
world.
possible.
It's
But if that would I would buy if they're like, yeah, well, you can bend to the Avatar state. Well, then I'm just gonna go in the Avatar state and kick his butt.
So I don't know. That'll be interesting to see where that whole plot line goes. And then we have the plot line in Republic City with Mako, Asami, Bolin, Varric, all that, and Andrew. And I don't know if Peter you agreed as much, but I know Andrew was very much thinking that Mako was kind of being an airhead in this episode when he was talking with Varric.
Okay, so Varric does the chair swivel thing again, which I love. I just hope he does that every episode now. And but he was clearly threatening Mako. I'd hate for something bad to happen to Asami or Bolin, but nothing bad might happen. And Mako's just like, no, I don't want to work with you. And then just kind of walks away. See, because most people in that situation, when they do that thing, it's,
are you threatening me?
are you threatening? Or they acknowledge the threats, the very overt threats. But he just kind of walks away, and I'm like, did you not get that he was threatening you? That was a threat. Did you understand that? I just want to make sure that you understood that, because otherwise, I was starting to like you, and trust that you're kind of intelligent, but I don't know, man.
I know. Given that, because we have had these episodes that have actually made Mako competent, I got to assume he's not that stupid that he wouldn't notice, because Varric was laying on very thick. I just think it was just sort of written a little weirdly, where he just sort of brushed it off,
Yeah.
I think he just brushed it off a little too easily, because most people just are vaguely off put by the
or they would
threatening nature.
call the people who were threatened, and say, "Hey, keep an eye out, okay?
Yeah,
Just
well,
be careful."
he's already sort of told them that, because if he says, I think Varric's going to be after you guys, they'd be like, oh, gosh, you're crazy.
Or he doesn't even have to say Varric. He could just say, some weird stuff's going on right now. I'll tell you about it later. Just keep your eyes open.
I guess. And I will reiterate what I said on the last Korra podcast, that I'm really not liking this whole Mako and Asami getting back together thing.
Yeah.
Because it is literally, I think Bolin even says, it's only been a week since Korra left. So that's a pretty fast rebound there on Mako's part.
It makes me feel like Mako's just an asshat.
Yeah, he's kind of going back to that a bit for me. I'm like, I was starting to like you. Why are you reverting, Mako? Why are you doing this?
Well, how quick was it in the first season when he broke with Asami the first time, and then got with Korra? Is that how,
Immediately.
That's true.
So maybe it just gets over so very quickly.
Apparently. Well, because, like, Asami kissed him in what, episode 6 it was, and he was, like, really awkward about it. And then in this episode, she was, like, making some moves on him. He was, like, backing down, and she said something else. He was like, oh, okay, smooch.
And then they just, like, wrapped around, like, hey, let's get some noodles. And then they just made out, like, yeah, okay.
That's cool.
We're just, like, dating now, I guess. And then Mako got arrested. And
Which I thought was actually kind of clever, because given Varric's threat, I thought he was going to do something to Bolin or Asami. Instead, he has the two very obviously crooked cop, mustache guys come in and probably plant evidence, to frame Mako. Which was smart because, to be fair, Mako definitely broke the law by,
Multiple
going
times.
behind the chief's back, and hiring these criminals to do a sting operation.
yeah.
And he worked with that gang before he worked
triple
for the police.
threats, yeah.
Yeah, like he was a street kid.
Yeah. Yeah, well, but everyone knows that. That's part of his
Yeah.
past, I think.
But I mean, it gives more credence to the evidence. Like,
Yeah.
well, he's done it before.
And I personally sort of think, like, you sort of saw when they were telling her, like, Asami, like, oh, he obviously framed you. Why do you think he took you on that boat, to steal your robots or whatever? I'm sort of thinking, like, I don't think Asami buys that completely because I don't think she's that dumb. But I think it puts a little seed of doubt in her mind, like, just enough to
Yeah.
make her wary of Mako.
she'll be wary of Mako, but once Bolin finds out, Bolin won't believe it, and Bolin will be like, no, I'm going to help my brother.
Above everything else, Bolin does love his brother, which is why he's acting like this right now. He's like, you hurt me, man, and I'm going to hurt you back because you need to learn a lesson. But the second his brother's, like, in actual danger,
Bolin will snap out of it. Bolin
Yeah.
will be like, nope, saving the day.
because, Bolin.
Bolin's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have episode 10 tomorrow, and personally, I'm predicting that's going to happen because,
Yeah.
I feel like it's within Bolin's character because he's mad at Mako, but he knows Mako would never do something like that, so he knows that's going to be baloney. And I also feel like I've loved this whole thing with Nuktuk and Bolin. It's been
Yes.
hilarious, but we're getting near we've only got 5 more episodes, in the season, and 4 of those episodes are part of 2 episode 1 hour specials. So we don't have that much longer left in the show. So Bolin needs to become a hero again, get back on the side of the good guys and stop goofing off as Nuktuk. So I think
Yeah.
that's going to happen in the
Yeah.
very near future.
Time for that story to wrap up.
With Mako, and it's going to be awesome because Bolin's going to come in there and rescue Mako, whereas Mako's always come and rescued Bolin.
One thing I want to see though is I can't remember his name. The water chief, the bad guy, basically.
Unalak.
How does he know that story about the evil spirit?
About Vatu.
Yeah, Vatu. Because that seems that if it took Korra going back in time all the way just to learn about that.
Right, but remember
It's
that
not common
the
knowledge.
fire sage in the temple that she was at knew about it. So I think not very many people know about it, because obviously Tenzin and it seems like you guys have your theory that the White Lotus knows about it, but I personally think
it
that's
would make sense for the White Lotus. If they were to know things, they would probably know about this. But this does prove that if they do,
Then-
Tenzin isn't a member.
then why didn't they warn her about it months in advance
They're
of this?
trying to protect her.
Because was arrogant and
No, that's
bullheaded. You know how she is.
I know that
She
she's
would have been
arrogant,
like, "Oh,
but
let's just go fight Vatu now."
well, the point is they could have had her training, not training airbending with Tenzin, training spirit stuff with someone, maybe not Unalak, but someone, so that she could go into the spirit world and confront Vatu.
Well, then,
They should have made that
but
Yeah.
a
people
real thing.
Obviously, okay, so the fire sage knows. Other people have to know. So, who does know, and why didn't they talk to Korra? And even if the White Lotus does know, then Tenzin obviously didn't know, and that means Tenzin's probably
See,
not a member. Why is it Tenzin a member of the White Lotus?
I agree with Dan. I personally think that a very limited number of people know. I think Unalak, through his years of spirit world stuff and research, somehow discovered that.
But Tenzin also has X number of years of spirit world research, and he didn't know about it.
True.
It's,
That's
though.
true.
it's weird who knows and who doesn't know. We need to establish who's in on
I
this.
think when we get to dealing with Unalak, we might have a flashback of how he discovered
yeah.
Vatu
yeah,
or
I like
what
That'll
his,
that.
probably
Yes.
be next week's
what his
episode,
plan
yes.
is.
As much as backstory upon Amon in season 1, we don't have any motive for Unalak in season 2.
Yeah,
I like to see some of
I
that.
would like to see that, give some justification for what he's doing, because right now he's just being evil for evil's sake,
He's
sort
being
of.
evil for evil's sake. and
doing the
inco-
power
and
thing.
he's
He wants
slowly
all
gotten
that
more and
power.
more incompetent as the season has gone on, and I'm just like, I don't care about you. Vatu and Varric are over here, and you guys are much better at your jobs. And I'm just so
I
much
know.
more
I'm
fascinated
still
with you.
hopeful that because Unalak says I have a plan that will to change the world. I have this opportunity, so he's got something planned. He's going to do some big, grand thing in the near future. Just what that is, will that be enough to redeem his character? We'll have to see.
Hopefully.
Something kind of cool. I saw a thing on the Legend of Korra Facebook page, like the official one. It posted an image of Jinora with the owl spirit, which we had seen in one of the trailers. So I think in tomorrow's episode, that's going to be a thing.
Oh, that would be
where
cool.
they talk to the owl spirit. So that I wouldn't be surprised if they go and ask him hey,
What's going on?
where's harmonic convergence and how do we get there? Because to my knowledge, they have no idea where they're going right now.
Well, I mean, how do you get there? It's pretty easy. Go through the southern and/or northern portal.
Well, right, but they're in the spirit world. So how do you get there in the spirit world?
Oh.
Exactly.
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
That map's weird. It's all
Yeah.
weird
Most of
shit.
the South Poles are
Non-Euclidean.
like 5 feet away in the spirit world.
Yeah, what if they just wake up and that I did like that awesome pan shot where they came over and they're in that the spirit world with the green grass and those cool looking trees. What if they just look behind them and it's just oh, there it is. What do you know? How convenient.
Well, that's just nice. Oh, well, let's go.
My main question is, why did the writers want Jinora to be there? Because Jinora's going to do something in there, and if they didn't want specifically Jinora, they would have either just let Korra go in by herself, or they would have let Tenzin go in with her. By choosing to let Jinora go in, they're going to have to do something with her. She's either going to interact more with the spirits and help, keep Korra from destroying things and making an ass of herself. Or my personal
Just calm
theory.
down.
My theory is I think Vatu's going to try and take over Jinora.
That's right. You pitched that, and I hadn't thought of that, and that would be really interesting. Like if
Interesting.
Vatu was in Jinora's body and Korra to deal with fighting her, and not killing her, that would be cool.
That's my hope.
I don't. And you brought up something that's worth mentioning, Andrew, and that Korra, her flashback thing with Juan has definitely cooled her down a little bit because she was
Yes.
she apologized
Yes.
to Tenzin this
She
episode.
apologized to Tenzin. She was much better at meditating than Tenzin was the entire episode. She was just genuinely trying to meditate and stuff, and Tenzin was the one that was freaking out. And she's like, "Oh, I think it was okay." And she only got angry once during the whole episode, and that was after Tenzin got angry for the third time. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I saw. She, in those 2 episodes, whatever, she became less. I don't know the right word would be. Not moody or
Hot-headed.
hot-headed. She became less hot-headed, more serious.
Yeah, well,
That-
she
I
has
like
she has a definitive goal, save the world, or else, in no uncertain
That may be it.
terms.
I guess
So,
part of it could be that she's no longer frustrated, but because before her goal was stop Unalak, but she was all trapped up in and wrapped up in politics, and that's frustrating to her because she's no, this is the way things should be, but the way things are much more complicated than that. And now this is just, I know what I have to do, and I can focus on that.
yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it because Korra's the type to get frustrated when things aren't as black and white as she sees them to be. They're not that way in real life. So I think having that focus and that drive and just the Vatu is evil, go beat him before harmonic convergence. It's very simple, and she can go do that, and she's going to go do it, and it's going to be awesome. So I overall, like I said, this not a whole lot of important stuff happened this episode in comparison to some of the earlier ones, but that's okay. We're in the spirit world. I feel like tomorrow's episode is going to be another one for building some things, and then the 2 weeks after that with these 2 1 hour specials, with these two episodes combined, for each of those 2 weekends. Those are going to be where things get really good, and we get this showdown and figure out what's going on. Is Vatu going to, make Unalak a dark avatar? Is he going to possess Jinora? Is he going to go off on his own and wreak havoc? Is harmonic convergence actually going to happen? Are they going to close the portals? There's so many questions. It's going to be so awesome. So
And that's something I like quite a lot. There are multiple avenues for this ending. So I'm not just oh, this is how it's going to end. There are
Right.
multiple ways that this could end, and I would be fine with any of them.
Yep. So overall, this wasn't a great episode or anything, but I enjoyed it. Next week we get to start with Studio Mur is now back full time starting next week. So no more Perot. It's going to be beautiful looking animation throughout. So got that to look forward to. Dan, what did you think of this episode?
Overall, I liked it. I really liked how just Tenzin just became less of a perfect person because he has to deal with his shortcomings. And I like how it wasn't just simply like, oh, she get in there just because. It was she get in there because she was just born with this ability. And just something he just cannot handle. So I liked that most of all.
Yeah, well, I think it's worth mentioning that even though Aang was Mr. Spiritual, like this kid raised by the monks, this peaceful airbender, he didn't go into the spirit world until he got the help from the yin and yang fish in the North Pole. Remember, that's when he went into the spirit world for the first time. So I mean, even he needed help. He couldn't just do it on his own. So it makes sense that Korra would need some help too. Peter, what did you think?
I loved it. With the exception of the Mako portion, which just kind of frustrated me a bit. But I love where it's going. I love how Korra's behaving. I liked the development with the airbending family overall. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how the spirit world plays out. I like the sense of tension I have right now, because I'm excited about the next episode, whereas that's not always the case.
Right. Okay. Andrew?
I like everything. Almost. I mean, Mako, I think, is being an idiot. But other than that, everything else, I liked. I do love, because it's very rare for me nowadays, because I read too much and I see too many things coming. There really is a sense that there is so much that can just go on. Now, one thing that I think definitely needs to happen is either the Mako Republic City stuff needs to either, kind of wrap up, I really think it needs to come into the fold with the Spirit World Unalaq stuff, because right now they're so isolated from each other, and especially with Korra now going into the Spirit World, so the cuts from her being in the Spirit World to Mako and them and Republic City will be kind of jarring. Those two plot points need to come together.
I actually just had a thought, because I was mentioning earlier how Korra sort of dropped this whole war with the North and South thing. What if Varric, because we know he's been supplying arms, to it seems like sort of both sides, profiting off the war, and he stole or bought out, whatever you want to call it, Asami's mecha tanks, that were supposed to go to the South and all that. So what if they uncover this plot that Varric's going to do with the war, that's happening in the immediate future, and they go there, and so basically Mako, Asami, and Bolin are dealing with the actual physical war in the real world, whereas Korra is dealing with Vaatu in the spirit world, and the two things are sort of coming to a head at the same time.
They would come out of the head, but I still feel like they need to affect each other.
Yeah. Well, because, I mean, I don't know, because Korra, I mean, she's going there to close the southern portal, but I feel somehow that plan is going to go wrong and the northern portal is going to be open. That's got to happen.
I feel like what might happen is they might get in them to invade the north or the south. They might Varric might get all uppity and I'm going to go we're going to go attack the north, or we're going to go to the south and try to rescue Korra, because I guess that's where she the only thing I can figure is, because right now both plot points have no idea what's going on with the other. Korra just kind of abandoned the whole terrorist thing, yeah, whatever, I don't care. And Mako's on that, and everyone else is on that, but Korra's on this harmonic convergence. They still have no idea that any of this is going on. For all they know, they think she's still in the Fire Nation.
Yeah, well, maybe somehow they learn about what Korra's doing, and Mako and Bolin and Asami lead a charge, and enter the spirit world through the southern portal, to help her in the battle. I can see that happening, because going through the portal is the only way they're gonna get into the spirit world. Yeah. They can't meditate in there. So this is what's cool about this. There's so many directions the show can go and so much to speculate about. So looking forward to tomorrow's episode. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can email us at techheads@avwproductions.com. You can follow us on Twitter at techheadsou, like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, give us some good ratings, reviews. We're AVW Media on YouTube. Techheads.me is our website. You can email us at techhead. I think I already said the techheads@avwproductions.com, but I'm going to say it again anyways, just so you know. We love our emails when we get them. And I want to thank both Peter and Andrew, for being here today. And a special big thank you to Dan, since this is your first podcast. Hopefully you had a good time talking about Digimon and Korra.
I had a great time.
All right, awesome. And quick discussion about next time. Our theory for next time is we're going to talk about some of the new fall 2013 shows that have been airing. We're definitely doing Kill la Kill because pretty much all of us have been watching that. So that's going to be fun to talk about. And then I was showing Peter and Andrew Beyond the Boundary last week, which is the Kyo Annie show that's been out this year. That's actually been pretty good so far. And then another one I've really been enjoying is Samurai Flamenco, got a show directed by the director of Bakano, one of my all-time favorite series. And that's been pretty funny so far. So I think we'll try to do those three, if not maybe just two. We'll sort of see. But, that's going to be next week, some fall 2013 action for you guys out there. So you can look forward to that. And until next time, this is Alex Schmitz for Shred Cels signing off.
This product is copyright AVW Productions 2013.